So we're going to examine the Strangite Mormons. This is the experience of Elizabeth Williams. She was there as a kid and spent her whole life there. Wrote this book in 1909. So that's Beaver Island right there. Down here is that Charlevoix. Up here, this is where D. Bragg 21 lives. This is Canukia up on this side here. This is True America down here. So this is where it all took place. So I'm going to give you kind of a quick view of the island here. Well, I tell you, Strang shows up in with a group of people in the spring of 46, I believe. She's about 10 years old. And they go to work clearing the land and making crops, and several families came in from Texas, brought some cows, and they had to give a tenth to Strang's treasury. This strikes everyone as just astonishing, you know, when you're studying this subject. But, you know, we pay so much in taxes now that it doesn't seem like anything. So not long after Strang arrives, he receives a revelation that it's okay to take from the Gentiles. Now this same thing was happening in Missouri and Illinois. And if you read some books like John D. Lee's Confession, he'll tell you the same thing. There's a revelation, it's the end times, and so it's okay to take from those that aren't the anointed. Things like this. Once I said to him, "Did the king ever give you orders what to do?" He said, "At first the orders were given our captains by the king, but it was not long before we never waited for orders from headquarters. We did what we found to do. It was the intention of Strang should own and rule the whole territory about these islands and mainland, as fast as he could get his people scattered about to possess the whole thing. Strang got too busy making laws that did not suit many of the women, which was one of the cause of the ill feeling among his people." Well, Brigham Young might have had the same issue, but he had control of the issue. So again, we have these similarities. An attempt to take over a territory, an attempt to compel what's now perceived by Mormons to be outsiders, to compel these so-called Gentiles to Mormon behavior under threats of death, stealing from Gentiles, compelling people to polygamy, compelling people to other behaviors like baptism. And then we see the same thing as with Joseph. People get upset and kill him. A letter came from the king saying every Gentile family must come to the harbor and be baptized into the Church of Zion or leave the island within 10 days after receiving the notice signed by Strang. Within 24 hours after receiving the notice, every Gentile family but ours had gone. They had taken what they could in their fish boats. Mr. Bowers shows up in the middle of the night when the boat is coming for the Elizabeth family and says he's going to leave with them. There are many excellent people here that would be glad to go, but they have no means to go and fear to try to go. They loaded up these few boxes. With a fresh breeze and a fair wind, our little vessel was nearing Charlevoix, the land that seemed to promise us safety. As we neared the river, we could see our friends. We came to anchor on the north side of the river. I remember how happy we all felt that night to be with friends and no Mormons to be afraid of. Well, 2 Mormon families had stolen away with these folks, and the Mormons come to get them. And it's one of these O.P. Rockwell kinds of things, except it doesn't work. These people stand up to these 2 fellows that show up at Charlevoix and pursue them. So the 2 men show up, trying to threaten these people in Charlevoix. See if this sounds familiar. The Mormon says to them, "We have these men, and we will make you all as humble as mice, and your blood shall mingle with these waters if you attempt to resist us." And many more boastful threats, which he made while he kept walking about, swinging his arms. Father talked to him quietly, but he would not be quieted. He grew more fierce every moment. So the end of these men is as follows. The Mormons rowed with all their might to the vessel that they're trying to escape onto, telling the captain that they were fishermen and that the Mormons were chasing them and begged to be saved from their enemies. In other words, he said just the opposite of what was true. Of course, the captain could do no less. Our men came as near to the vessel as they could and told the captain how it was. He told them they couldn't do anything and it was best to go quietly home. The vessel was the bark Mormon. It was stated in the Northern Islander, a newspaper edited and printed at the island, that 7 men were killed and 5 wounded of the Mormons at the Battle of Charlevoix. A man who boarded with me several years after this happened told me that this was the correct number. He was in the boat and was one of the wounded, he being shot in the shoulder. He was very young when he was in training with these bad men. He also told us that Pierce, the leader, was very angry and had planned to come back and drive us away or murder us all. They wanted to settle there themselves, which they did as soon as we left. Well, they go over to Charlevoix, but that doesn't stop Strang because he decides he wants to be in Charlevoix and up in Mackinac. But as this is coming down and he's trying to compel his people into polygamy and this baptism, he winds up being shot. But when he's shot, it takes 11 days to die. He wants to go back to his original wife. He has to be with his original wife, the one that wouldn't have anything to do with polygamy, the one that left him. Castle it's a wooden house that actually Elizabeth Williams' father built. But it was in this area right here.